Hey there, students. How are you doing? I hope that you're doing well. Have you ever had one of those circumstances where you study really hard for a test, you spend hours, and then you go in and you take the test, and you find out that after the test is done, you get your test results back, and you find out that you did really poorly? That is the most frustrating thing because you put all that time in, right? All that time, all that effort. I mean, you really tried. And now only to find out that you didn't do well. I want to talk to you about what you can do in those types of circumstances. Here's the thing, doing good in school is not just about working really hard, it's also about working smart. Not all things work the same way when it comes to learning. And you might have been told things like, well, everybody learns differently, and no two people learn the exact same way. It's true that we as human beings, we are all really different from one another, but we're also all really similar. For example, most of us have two eyes and one nose and a brain in our head. And that brain, that mind of yours, it's really unique to you, but there are also some things that we know from research work really well for studying and learning stuff, and some things that work, not as well. So, for example, a lot of students come to me and they'll say, I studied really hard. And I'll ask them, okay, what did you do? What did you really do for studying? I'm not trying to trick them. I'm not trying to make them feel bad at all. I just want to know because I want to help them. That's something for you to do right now, by the way. You should pause this video and just write down what are the things that you do when you study. Here are some things that my students will tell me. Well, I went back through the textbook and I read through the textbook. I reread the textbook. Or I went back through my notes and I reread my notes. Or I went online and I rewatched the videos for the class. All right, this is really ineffective. This doesn't work well at all. Here's what rereading the textbook or rewatching the videos does. It tricks your brain into thinking that you know the material that you're trying to learn. It tricks you. Because what that textbook looks like, or those notes look like, or that video looks like when you go back through it a second or third time, is they look familiar. They look familiar. Your notes are becoming like that person in the hallway at school who, I've seen you before, I recognize you, but do you know their name? Can you come up with their name right now? Do you know anything about them? You might be just familiar with them, familiar with what they look like. But if you were going to have a conversation with them, it'd be kind of awkward because you really don't know them. That's what's happening with your test. If you're doing a lot of rereading your notes, re-looking at stuff, you're familiar with these things, but you don't actually know them. So what in the world are we supposed to do? You've got to test yourself. You've got to quiz yourself. You've got to start treating, for example, things that you do in class after you learn something and your teacher asks you a question about something that you learned yesterday or whatever. You've got to start to treat that like a little miniature test. And when you can't come up with an answer, when you don't know, you've got to get out your spiral notebook and you've got to write down, holy cow, I need to look at that again tonight. And then I need to ask myself the same question my teacher just asked me. I need to ask myself that tonight and see if I can cover up all my notes, put my book away, and answer it by myself. In other words, you've got to find little ways where you can be quizzing yourself, or letting your teacher quiz you, or your friends quiz you. Because when you quiz yourself, now all of a sudden, my notes are away. Now all of a sudden, the textbook's over there, and I've got to produce the information all on my own. And what that will do is it will tell you one of two things. If you can produce the information on your own, if you can solve the problem, then you know it. You know it. And you're maybe pretty ready to see that on a test. But if you can't really answer, if all you can do is be really vague, you might not actually know it. So you need to go back into your notes, into your textbook or whatever, relook at that material, and then right away cover it up and try to answer that question that you're quizzing yourself on. All that I'm giving you is one example of a kind of effort that will really pay off. Quizzing yourself will really pay off over the long term. You'll start to be much more prepared for test. But there are all kinds of other things that can really help you in learning for your different classes. So another thing that you can do is if you're struggling in a certain class, go ahead and do a search. How to study effectively for a science test, how to study for a health test, how to get ready for that physical test in gym. I don't know. I'm just saying that the internet is full of students like you who want to do well, who don't want to spend hours and hours studying with no result. They want to get quick, good results for the time that they spend studying. In other words, they want to work smart, just like you. I hope that this helps.